Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Mubi's new film, Die My Love. And this is a psychological drama and thriller with a dark comedic edge from director Lynn Ramsey, who co-wrote this film with Enda Walsh and Alice Birch, based on Ariana Harwitz's book. And Die My Love stars Jennifer Lawrence as Grace, a writer and young mother, is slowly slipping into madness. Locked away in her old house in and around Montana, we see her acting increasingly agitated and erratic, leaving her companion Jackson, played by Robert Pattinson, increasingly worried and helpless. And this film is a very engrossing, very intense, visceral type of experience. If you've seen Ramsey's other films, like We Don't Talk About Kevin and Were You Ever Really There, or Were You Really Ever There, You Were Never Really There, sorry, starring Joaquin Phoenix, and there's just this palpable feeling of intensity and suspense and dread that looms over her projects. And here you do have a bit of that, but it is this looming tone, this atmosphere that keeps building up, and there's just a crispness to the cinematography done by Seamus McGarvey, and there is just this richness of color and textures in each and every shot. This feels very tangible and very engrossing in the way that this film comes to life on screen, and that gives this film those layers of cinematic personality. And the way that this film is edited feels very smooth and calculating in a way that at times, when it's this joyful flashbacks of their wedding and them connecting between Lawrence and Pattinson, it feels dreamlike, this splendor. But then when we get into these more intense, uncomfortable moments, it feels more nightmarish and haunting and arresting in that way. And just how this film is put together is quite impressive. There's some very strong visuals of fire and stuff like that, this cleansing nature. And this film deals with motherhood. It deals with marriage and mental health, and how this spiraling situation soon gets out of control for Grace, as she's completely disconnected from being anchored down in life, and she's increasingly agitated and volatile in her actions and behavior, and she sees this reflected in her in-laws with Nick Nolte, who's dealing with dementia, and Pam, played by Sissy Spacek, who's sleepwalking with a gun and stuff like this. And you have all of these things, and this film, I think its weakest elements are that it just never quite really digs deeper into more nuanced or complex elements in terms of its central dynamics. I feel like Grace and Jackson are pretty standard characters. They're very effectively rendered and brought to life, but pretty standard characters, and their conflicts feel pretty standard. I think it's the filmmaking that makes this film stand out in the way that it does, with how poignant and powerful that it can actually be. And I do see these characters, dealing with these very relatable but also very challenging elements in life and relationships. And Lawrence delivers a powerhouse performance that is raw, vulnerable, fiery. When she really wants to get intimate, which hasn't happened in a long time, the sexual drive is there. And you can see the intimidation in Pattinson, who's taken aback by this much more aggressive version of his wife. And Pattinson is one of those actors that just completely loses himself into a role. He feels so authentic and organic as this man who is very much a man and makes really man decisions and creates a lot of conflict between him and his wife. Sissy Spacek delivers a very authentic and grounded and poignant performance that just helps anchor this drama, this mystery, this volatile nature there. And Nolte really, in the few scenes that he's in, brings something very powerful, and you can feel the fear and the intensity through this dementia-ridden old man. And these performances, it pushes you. The filmmaking, it pushes you. Narratively, the film's a little bit loose in that way, maybe a little overlong at 2 hours, but it does have this dense thematic work that really does give this film that oomph, that impact in the end. But those are my thoughts on Die, My Love. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.